Good morning and welcome to our first webinar of 2025. I'm so happy that you're here and ready to be prepped for the season with success. Let's jump right in. My name is Shayna Scott, and I am the Customer Success Manager for the Appia and Doc Express service. I've been with Infotech for going on 9 years, and I've supported our products from customer support through the onboarding phase and now through long-term relationship building with a touch of educational guidance around our suite of products. For today's presentation, you will be muted. However, I do want to encourage you to use the Q&A feature. You're going to see that button titled Q&A located at the bottom of your screen, and we're going to address any questions that you have during the Q&A session at the end. Remember, you are earning professional development time today, but don't worry, I'll try to keep it fun as well. If for any reason that you have to leave today's presentation or you'd like to rewatch or share, we're going to be sending out a recording of the discussion once it's available. And we're also going to include a Q&A sheet that will have any answers to questions that we don't get to. Today, we're going to discuss the following topics: scheduling challenges, or rather, scheduling opportunities, options for training essentials as we prep for construction season, and hello, it's here. We're also going to talk about technology integration and its importance in streamlining your day-to-day processes for project and document management. So, how do these topics align, you ask? It's a great question. When prepping for a successful and busy season, you probably ask yourself, how can I get this project completed, on time? How do I scale the work that I need to do? Federal funding, audits, you understand. Who's going to be doing this work with me? More so, who do I need to keep informed? How can I track everything per project in one place? We all know we need ease of use, not multiple convoluted solutions. So taking a peek at the diagram, we can see just how technology, people, and process align. And I'm going to break down for you, based on my experience in coordination with Appia users, how they prep for the busy construction season, have updated their internal processes, streamlined their project creation, and save themselves time by using a construction management solution. When it comes to scheduling, a couple of things that I've heard through interviews and onboarding from our users is we don't have a checklist per se that we follow while prepping for construction season. And anybody who's worked with me knows we're going to work on that for your team. If I can help you streamline, create a checklist, we're going to have a checklist. I want to discuss and provide some ideas for a nice starting point for your checklist. And, for scheduling, some things you're probably already thought of, or you might have a game plan for, range from a few different areas, like weather limitations. We all know and have experienced how that comes into play. And, hi from Florida, where you can count on it to rain every day at 2 p.m. during the summer months. The time frame for weather guidelines, maybe that's some seasonal restrictions. Over the years, I've heard a little bit more about, there's a whole bat issue in some states and the time that you're allowed to do clearing and grubbing. I've heard this from my Ohio users, Oklahoma, and on. There's possible noise ordinances, right? So scheduling those noisy activities during permitted times, communicating with neighboring communities, using noise mitigation measures, timing of road closures. But in the interim, think of projects to prioritize. What small projects can you identify and prioritize and get those, completed a little quickly and efficiently? Maybe there's some maintenance work and we could utilize downtime for equipment maintenance. This is part of the checklist for Franklin County, Ohio. I've worked with Missy over the years, and to her, prioritizing in a few different categories is key to what they need. But schedule additional planning sessions so you could dedicate that time for reviewing plans, improving processes, internal training, and ding ding, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But with those planning sessions, it's directly out of the Ohio playbook from Craig over at OHM and Missy from Franklin County that I've worked with. Continuing Perhaps we have some agreements that are in place, right? So we're checking on permit approvals, communication with utility companies, really maintaining that regular communication and providing those accurate schedules of work that are going to be done. So applying for permits in advance. And then, of course, we have utility relocation agreements. Initiating those agreements early and having that planning time could really be critical to work starting on time for a project. Out of everything that we've kind of discussed from this jumping off point for your checklist, as far as scheduling goes, it's really about coordination. So that's coordinating with different residents, local businesses, school districts, thinking ahead on scheduling, disruptive activities maybe during those off-peak hours, and provide contact information. Who should people locally contact if needed? And anytime that we can, we should really work to minimize that impact on our local communities as we work to make those better. I've spoken about Missy and Craig as some of our power users for Appia, but really doubling down on some recent conversations. No checklist is going to be perfect, but having alignment and communication is necessary. And with alignment and communication, prioritizing naturally fits right into the mix. So who needs to know and be involved on the day-to-day of projects to keep those projects progressing? Do they need training on the process or solutions that are being utilized? So let's discuss some key takeaway points on scheduling as it comes to prepping for construction season. Plan for weather limitations, contingency planning for weather delays, utilizing historical data to kind of forecast potential weather impacts on project timelines, plan for peak weather events, hurricane season here in Florida, and align and prioritize on projects accordingly. Maximize the off season, pour back into the crew and equipment for maintenance needs, human and mechanical. Establish clear communication channels, plan that annual kickoff with all the stakeholders, right? Ensure alignment across the board. Jumping right in with an annual kickoff meeting, getting everyone together in those off months, not only can we have some nice team building activities because everybody loves those, but having some breakout sessions on best practices, reviewing safety protocol, conducting drills. This was a direct takeaway with my time working with OHM in Ohio. They span over a few different states, and it is essential for them to bring folks together, really ensuring alignment, understanding of the software that's in place, reviewing and prepping for the upcoming season. I know that they plan to review daily work report entries within the Appia service, and they discuss and kind of plan for training new team members, redistributing our self-led training content. It's all role-based. So if they have new inspectors, no worries. They can train them, quicker, less time away for those management folks, and hitting that adult learning style so that new information's, more likely to be absorbed. But we always provide that material and users can review that later on down the line as needed. With scheduling, set up additional field devices, right? During a kickoff breakout session, if you're using a mobile responsive CMS like Appia, it makes field inspection, a breeze, especially for offline, more rural projects. And discussing DOT collaboration, maybe with that annual kickoff, we're inviting those representatives to be present. Maybe they can discuss reporting requirements, statewide trends, upcoming policy changes, really nailing, compliance and collaboration across the board. And I want to hit on relationships one more time. Involving DOT officials is going to result in a smoother project execution. And I hear what you're saying. What about contractors? Is there a way for them to have more visibility, but not too much visibility? So emailing updates or having to pause work to call someone back isn't always the most efficient way. With Appia, you have that ability to bring contractors in with our beta feature, Contractor Access. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more on our next slide. So within Appia, Contractor Access is a way to collaborate with contractors and other stakeholders by giving them limited access to project information and those tools on a need-to-know per project basis with just a few clicks. So contractors could see the project item list and the item activity. They could see active punch list and edit that punch list to account for activity that they're helping out. And they could close out those punch lists as well once that work is completed on the project. So summarizing our training needs, there's some key points to take into consideration, right? Let's discuss agenda items and objectives for that annual kickoff. I assure you, your team wants to hear what everyone wants to discuss and review and what's needed to be discussed and reviewed. For building relationships, take into consideration the collaboration and better problem solving that you can have with someone you maybe share the same favorite basketball team with or the same coffee order. You wouldn't know unless you gave communication and collaboration a shot. And lastly, seeking out a construction management solution, maybe requesting a demo. Our team can show you the benefits of streamlined software as a service to help align and inform all project stakeholders throughout that project lifecycle. And this includes bidding, integrations for bidding analysis, award, and then that full project inspection, really closing out that full cycle. Jumping back into technology of it all, being efficient as it comes to utilizing a construction management service or software or a CMS to help you think about the things that you can do to ensure you're saving time on the back end. So prior to the kickoff of construction season, set things up correctly, setting up your projects. You can do that thoroughly on the front end of your projects. With our services, you can set up funding allocations, time limits, project location information, establish your prime contractor and your subcontractors so that they can have that involvement. We can track materials, material approvals, and continue to think about the who, what, where, and when approach. So for outlining the basics of what's happening, you have all this information to organize. What's getting installed? Who's doing this work? When is it happening? And then where is it happening? We have some information to provide later on, but all of this information can be populated in a CMS like Appia. So at the start of construction, you can really lay all of this groundwork, pun intended, to get you ahead of the game and prepped for the season to begin. I want to plant this seed. Think about how you might be handling construction documents. So planning ahead, when and if you utilized Appia, you get our Doc Express service for free. And that is our service for contract management. And surprise, these products integrate seamlessly for document transfer and workflow review. So centralized project information from start to finish sounds great. With that document management and project setup from the new phase to under construction, all being housed within one login, you're not only improving collaboration across the project, all of your stakeholders, internal and external, that need to be involved, but you're making day-to-day work better for your team. So before we move on to summarizing the tech side of things, let's take a quick look at how quick and simple it is to send over a pay estimate for review from the Appia service to Doc Express. So from here, you can see my Appia overview. I am in a specific project, and I can see a full high-level health check of what's going on with my project. I'm going to scroll down to payments. And from here, I have a draft payment that I can click into, but note my previous payment that was approved was also being tracked in the Doc Express service, so I can see it from here with this visibility. But if I click into my draft payment, we're going to say that everything looks good. I'm ready to send this one off for approval. I can submit this for approval, and I have the option to submit it to Doc Express for that workflow to be kicked off. It's going to prompt me on which automatic report I want to view within Appia. And I'm going to click on the detailed payment. I can click next. I can group that by section or by item ID. I'm going to stick with section. And then it's going to prompt me on which drawer within my contract I want to send this to. And that workflow in that drawer is going to kick off an email and let that next person know what needs to happen. So I'm not tracking anyone down, and I'm going to get notified on the back end once things have been progressing. So I'm going to click on Pay Estimates, and I'm going to click Submit. And just that easy, I can see that this information is over and attached to the DocExpress service. I'm still within Appia, but I could click to view this document over in the service. We'll log back in. And now we can see where that document is living, and I can see anything that's happened if it's been transitioned to that next workflow step. So very seamless. I can go back and forth and make sure that everything is working, and I can also monitor my email for those notifications. So we're going to jump back in, and we're going to talk a little bit more about our technology. So understanding our services really starts with account creation. So users could create an account and have the ability to license Appia and receive the DocExpress service for free. And then depicted here, you can see the option to navigate to each service individually from one login. So during our demo, you were able to see how I could navigate to the integrated DocExpress contract with my Appia project that now holds that pay estimate report that was sent over from my active payment. Going back to a streamlined approach, the CMS that you opt to use should be well integrated between the services that are offered and hopefully maintained all under one login so that users have a seamless experience. With that brief glimpse into the Appia and DocExpress world, let's summarize the tech side of construction. So utilize software that aids you in being prepped. Project setup shouldn't be hard. Controlling weather, that's a different story. But think about how you plan to document and update your processes and project-specific information. How easy is the project lifecycle now through field books, manual report generation, multiple stakeholders reviewing project progress? With Appia, it's all in real time, so that's less emailing back and forth with stakeholders, less phone calls. They're all going to be looped in and be able to take action when and if it's needed. So we covered a ton of amazing points to aid in preparing for the busy construction season. Don't forget to start that checklist if you haven't, and I'm willing to bet that it's going to help in years to come. Utilize your downtime to optimize internal processes like retrainings, process review, and streamlining of processes. Plan to demo and maybe pilot and implement software to aid in construction administration and document management. So we're going to move on to some questions, but don't forget to utilize the Q&A feature within the Zoom to get into the questions queue. And I'll open that up here. Perfect. All righty. So looking at some of our questions that we had come in, someone asked, how easy is it to implement a CMS, so a construction management software? I can't speak for other companies, but for the Appia service, our users are able to begin training and they're at their own pace, and they can also access their account really within, a day of purchasing a license. So happy to talk about that a little bit more. Someone else asked, are they interested in becoming a certified field inspector for Infotech? Next steps. So if you're interested in, utilizing the software to do field inspection, I would love to chat with you. And on the next slide, we'll have some information about that as well. But that sounds great. And I see a couple of other questions popping up. Does everyone get project access if they use Appia? We talked a lot about stakeholders getting access. They certainly don't have to. So we have roles that range from read only, being able to review everything in a project. We took a peek at contractor access, that beta feature. That's a little bit of a watered down version, so they're not seeing everything. It's a little more limited. And then we have, all the way up to system admin. So you could add stakeholders to, simply view project progress, less time for you having to communicate back and forth via phone or email. Or you could have users that are, managing those daily interest entries like inspectors, pay estimates, a project manager. But all access is determined on a per project basis and set up by a system admin role. So no automatic project access. So you can really be a little picky with who sees what. Perfect. And keep those questions coming. I've got one more here. So it says, our team has a ton of rural projects. What do we do if we want an e-solution, but we don't have Wi-Fi or cell data? So Appia works with an offline reporting app. It's a progressive web app called Mobile Inspector. And this is great because users can record a daily work entry. And then once they're back with cell data or Wi-Fi, they can sync it right up to Appia. And that way you have that ability just to pop that information back in and not lose any work because you couldn't record or you don't have to write it down and try to read your handwriting, a couple hours later. So that's a great question. All right. Perfect. And we will be providing certificates upon completion of the webinar. We'll follow up on that as well. So let's see. Perfect. And if you have any questions, do feel free to use that Q&A feature. All right, everything's looking good. If we don't have any other questions, we'll keep moving on. I want to talk a little bit, after our discussions today, if you're thinking about adopting a construction administration software, you can really discover how the right solution can streamline your workflows, reduce costly errors, and maximize efficiency, all while increasing your bottom line. So as an attendee of this webinar, you can get a free ROI analysis by emailing me today. I look forward to chatting with all of you. My information is on the screen. I'll triple check that Q&A. Perfect. All right, well, let's see. We'll follow up on some of the questions too, just to be sure that they're all answered correctly. I think there's one that I'm just going to check in on to make sure that we understand there as well. But if we don't have any additional questions, I want to thank you all for your time, and I appreciate you coming today. I'll talk to you soon.